Hello and welcome to nepaltraveler.com. We are back once again with our weekly episodes of Travel Trade Talk, where we talk about tourism, issues, challenges, and we meet all the people who are the stakeholders who are pushing tourism to a better place. Today joining me on the show is Mr. Avik Jung Bahadur Singh. He's the General Manager of the Crowne Imperial. He's also the Executive Director Operations of the Mountain Glory Resort in Pokhara. Welcome to the show, Avik.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the usual way that we start this conversation is to introduce you, and you've had a long innings in tourism right from the beginning. You've been there at the forefront with various properties and brands. How has that journey been, to encapsulate shortly your journey in tourism?
So far, it's been an amazing journey. I've had the opportunity to work in Nepal. I've had the opportunity to work in Dubai and Australia as well. And that has broadened my approach towards hospitality. So the journey has been about 2 decades plus, and still going on. Brands have had a good influence on how I have grown in the industry, but so has the local approach towards hospitality.
When you look at your journey in tourism or in the hospitality, and back then and now, how do you see the difference?
So I started my career when hospitality was not at its peak there. I came into the industry when our industry was suffering. So this was the insurgency period, where hotels had to literally survive. I think that shaped me as a leader. I've always been able to handle scenarios when it really gets tough, and it was tough right then. And I'm sure you're also aware. Insurgency did cause a lot of hotels to close down as well, but certain hotels, they overcame that scenario, that challenge. And I was lucky to join them when it were in sales. So I literally understood the biggest challenges to the industry. And then going on, we went through the earthquake as well. Then we went through the COVID period. So it's always been a career that has led me into always firefighting different scenarios. The biggest challenge, what we are facing right now, apart from the growth in the industry, is there's a lot of hotels right now, and we have to stay afloat. We might not be going into those scenarios, but I think that experience has led me to be more prepared and have a clearer vision moving forward.
Since you're involved with 2 hotels, one in Kathmandu and one in Pokhara, how do you see these 2, let's say, local markets? A hotel in Kathmandu, and it's a relatively new hotel, Crowne Imperial, and then in Pokhara later we'll talk about. So in Kathmandu, how do you see it, as in vis-a-vis differences also?
So the positioning of Crowne Imperial in Kathmandu, it's a 4-star deluxe property. If I look at the 4-star positioning in Kathmandu, it's a 5-star product, unfortunately not at a 5-star price range. So the positioning is very difficult internationally as well as locally. If I look at the property in Pokhara, it's a luxury property. But then distance infrastructure towards it does cause a bit of a problem. Positioning wise, per se, any 4-star property in Kathmandu I would say, has not been able to reach its full potential. If we walk into any property in Delhi and we say, we ask for the rates for a 4-star and a 5-star, there's a marginal difference. Here in Nepal, the difference is not that profound. In fact, the number of 4 stars in the market is very less. And there are only a few 4 stars who've actually been able to retain that position. Amongst them, I think Crowne Imperial has done a fairly good job. We've met our occupancy targets. We've increased ROI as well. And we're looking at a very positive fiscal year going forward.
In the present situation, which is the off-season, unfortunately, Nepal suffers from this off-season, no matter what we say. In terms of the rates, because there's a bit of an oversupply presently, how do you see this challenge? I mean, and are hotels actually talking 4 stars, 5 stars in terms of consolidating rates and stuff? Or is it just a free fall?
Well, right now, I think it's heading towards a free fall. It's not yet a free fall, but it's heading towards a free fall. Because we have a lot of new brands that have entered the market. Very established, but new brands in the local market. When we don't achieve what we're supposed to achieve, the pressure goes downwards. And that causes a clear rate war. Consolidation of the business in terms of offering rates and so forth, it's a very wishful thought process because you are driven by your demand. You cannot say that I will do this at this price point because apart from us driving the rates, the acceptability from the other stakeholders also have to be there. I think at some point of the time, that will balance out, like it always does. Because through all the peaks and troughs that this industry has seen, it always some sort of later balances out. That has a large role of demand. So when the demand is going down, even basics of managing revenue will tell us that we've got to be able to fulfill our ROIs and our costs and so forth. So we do go towards these kind of scenarios, and it's a perfectly competitive market. It's a buyer's market, unfortunately, but there are always opportunities that lie within. For us, a property that has 131 rooms, the inventory pressure is amazing. People don't realize that we're a 131 property. So what we do is we do a balance of offering the value, and it's an unbeatable value. We have a very steady hand in terms of service, and we pitch the product at a way that people perceive value out of it.
And I think that's what all the hotels should be doing. The service and increasing value, the experience, and then you can actually get the rates a little high. On the other hand, with your hotel, how important is the local domestic traveler, the conference business, the parties, the weddings? Because that's an area where perhaps we can offset things.
Absolutely. I think MICE always plays a large role in our industry. We have MICE facilities. We've got a banquet hall that accommodates about 300 people. But versus other properties, we're not at that level yet. We have a plan, existing plan, that's going to be executed, implemented very soon. We're planning to put an addition on our banquet hall. That should be able to give us about 800 to 1,000 people on a in and out kind of a basis, on a moving crowd basis. So that should help us out. But again, as a hotel, we are looking at the destination going up in terms of MICE. Larger hotels have larger inventories. They have bigger convention services. When they start catering to them, we get a little bit of a spillover. And that business has to be targeted. That business has to be accommodated for us. And we look at handling smaller, direct MICE businesses. We look at doing large, not group-wise, but scheduled check-ins and check-outs, or departures, fixed departures, arrivals and departures per se. We tend to look at that in a different context. While others might target the larger companies, we look at the companies that have a constant supply and who keep on giving us. We did a large MICE business last year. We're planning to do something similar as well. That's based out of India. And for us, it gives us that opportunity to handle mid-scale but large volume business.
How dependent do you see your hotel as well as the others, the competition, dependent on travel agents, on the groups that they bring in?
Being a relatively new hotel, we are, obviously we'd like to be dependent on travel agents. And travel agents do support us. In terms of a market mix right now, my business is more corporates versus leisure. Travel agents do play a large role in it, especially for off seasons, especially for high peak demand periods. They do play a large role. If we have to be relevant in the industry, travel agents will always will always have a large production capacity and revenue generating capacity to anyone in the hospitality. But that travel orientated business is changing. Agency business is now becoming more digitalized. Agency business, probably due to the global scenario, has decreased slightly. The large historical travel, like the Japanese and the German market, we are yet to see them turning around with large volume. But then the treks and the expeditions are still going on very strong. Unfortunately for us, we haven't started that business yet, but we're on that path to get them to us as well. In a line, I would say travel agency business for us is important. We are working towards getting that to a certain level. But as a hotel, that's probably the first, as you enter Kathmandu, we are very local orientated. There's a rung of the corporates, which are probably not the large FMCGs, or even the large FMCGs, that would want to do sales meetings and events and so forth. And they look at inventories like us, where we have larger accommodation availability in terms of numbers, and which are closer to meeting venues. Not small meeting venues, I'll be talking about larger halls in the vicinity, and because we are surrounded by many hotels. Right? This side of the city is increasing in those terms of accommodations, and then we've got a large convention facility that's come up in Jamshedpur, Lalitpur area. So that context changes the market segment that we approach to and we look at.
When you look at the hotel in Pokhara, what are the major challenges you see there? Because, I mean, Pokhara could also be a popular destination for many Kathmandu people who just want to go down for the weekend and stuff. And what should we be doing about that?
Absolutely. I think what I would say is post-COVID, even during COVID, I was looking after Mountain Glory as the general manager. As you're aware, during those times, we didn't really have a lot of international travel coming in. And our major business was purely local driven. And Pokhara had become so so popular that people were flying in Friday evening, enjoying their time, and going back on a Sunday, and then going back straight to work. So yes, that's changed a little bit because things have opened up. Roads were better then. Then we went through a transition through a period where Pokhara roads became very difficult to travel. And Pokhara has always been a destination where people would like to drive down and, go through that historically available places like Mungling. They would love to sit down and have lunch there and then go further and further. So I think that movement in terms of international travel and local travel went down a little bit when the roads got difficult.
The construction's on here.
Exactly. So the construction and everything. But now I think the roads are going to be bigger, have become better. I personally have not yet traveled by road, and it's on my list to do right now just to see and feel how easy it has become. But I always think that flying down to Pokhara, 15-25 minute flight is always the best option. And I believe there are many domestic airlines who do that. And well planned, good infrastructure in terms of airport now as well. So it's a very close flight and easy access there. Off season, we are currently experiencing a back-to-back scenario in Mountain Glory. We're probably we've been sold out for the last 5 days. And then there's a small little gap. And then the next Friday onwards, we're going to get sold out for another 3 days as well. And that's all local business there. It's all local business. And that it's local nice business. So we've got a lot of corporates that are going there, staying there for 2 nights, having a session. And because it's a little further away from the city, you got 100% attendance. So that's how we're trying to be able to connect the dots. And then food's great. Place is amazing. It's a bit warm right now in Pokhara, but after the rain, you get to see a nice blue sky.
And you have a very scenic spot.
Absolutely.
It's away from all the noise and the hustle and bustle.
Absolutely. It's called Mountain Glory for a reason. You got 180, 200 degrees view of all the mountains, starting from Dholagiri going up to Annapurna 1, 2, and 3. So you get a beautiful view.
But when you look at Pokhara as a destination, even for our domestic tourists, and the number of hotels that have also come up in Pokhara, is that something similar to Kathmandu, where now you're suddenly seeing more supply?
In Kathmandu, the impact is you can really feel it because you've got larger inventories, and you've got more pressures in terms of ROI and so forth, and you can literally see the hotels booming in. Pokhara has always accepted that. So when you walk into Lakeside has now extended over to Pame, and now Pame has the same number of hotels that are coming in. Season-wise, I think Pokhara does a very good occupancy. Regardless how many hotels you have there, I think it all boils down to demand and how you generate demand. Pokhara does it naturally because it's a beautiful setting. It's got a culture that everyone is very used to. Kathmandu, per se, needs to develop in many aspects. Apart from just the trekking and the expedition business, we have a large untapped source of demand on our 2 neighboring countries. We just have to be able to get them more developed. Because, apart from the Delhis and the Bombay, Mumbais and all the A-class cities there in India, there are other cities as well, and they have a large corporate. So we've got to be able to somehow bring them across to Nepal as a whole. One interesting thing is right now, people are driving down from India. And that's a very good source of business. That's a very good source of business because they're now driving as families and they're stopping in different places. And they're always connecting major tourism cities like Chitwan and Pokhara, and then coming back to Kathmandu and then driving back themselves. So the role that road transportation has played in Nepal, it's a tricky one, but the role that road transportation plays in Nepal has to be developed further. And in that way, I think all these cities, these tourism-dependent cities, will really boom.
That was going to be my next question. In terms of the marketing of the destination, what further suggestions would you have for the tourism board, for the stakeholders, the associations? Because we have to increase the demand. We've already increased our rooms and our supply.
Correct. Well, my suggestion would be, from a stakeholder point of view, would be somehow dependent on my two properties. But in general, I think Nepal has to change its approach further away from just trekking and the mountain and so forth. Yes, we are blessed with natural beauty. For people who don't think that that's our major asset, it's just not right. But apart from that, we've got to develop areas, special zones, different kind of activities, and create demand in that perspective. I've heard Gurgaon is getting a Disneyland very soon. I think there are works that are going through. I would see business towards that sector growing by leaps and bounds. I would see another construction boom happening in that side of Gurgaon. We've got to do something similar. I'm sure Disneyland might not want to come here because we might not have the right facilities. But there are opportunities that we can look at. There are realistic opportunities that we can build around. And it's always going to be a buyer's market. We're never going to be able to be in a scenario where there were only few 5-star hotels or few 4-star properties, and where demand has always been high and supply has been less. This is going to be the new reality of our tourism industry right now. And as hoteliers, we've got to be prepared. We've got to be able to create that business. I would say international chains in Kathmandu have created a base of new leaders. I'm proud that I got an opportunity to work with these larger chains. They've sculpted me in terms of my hospitality discipline. What is going to be very interesting is now going to be how these chains are moving into regional areas. These regional areas, probably not immediately, but over the time, will be able to gain from that kind of larger understanding. So, not immediately, but at a larger time, I think this will create that impact, and it'll make them more ready to face these challenges.
And if you had to say something about the tourism board and suggest things, I'm sure they do have interactions with the industry, and they ask, how do you see the marketing that is needed at the moment in Nepal? As of today, what should we be doing more in terms of marketing, promotion, destination?
Well, I wouldn't want to be very critical. I think NTB is going through a good change. Rather than saying what they didn't do correct, I would rather say they've done a lot of they've done it very differently moving forward. I have not had the opportunity in the last few years to travel internationally to see their travel marts. Even though I have gone there before, I've not been able to see it right now. But in the recent regional areas that I've been to, like Sateh and OTM, it was handled very well. Yes, number of visitors have gone down a bit. Nepal still does not have that strategy that they can build around and create slightly different. But they've done it well. Destination marketing is always a challenge. Stakeholders have to have a larger say into it. And NTB is heading towards a direction where they're trying to meet these stakeholders' demands. It just needs a little more different direction. It needs a little bit of localization in terms of what we have. And I think that's about it. I wouldn't really want to be very critical on that.
They have improved a lot with the new team. They're trying to get their act together. There were certain laws, there were certain bylaws which restricted them.
Absolutely.
But I was also thinking in terms of what do you feel that they should be involving more in direct consumer marketing through digital? Because that's an area I think they're looking at, and we're also encouraging. We've always been saying,
correct.
You got to go to the consumer also directly.
Correct. And I think there is value in going to the consumer direct as well. It is going towards digitalization. There is the role that right now online platforms are creating is large. But then we've still got small hassles. We have a currency problem that we still face. We can't accept certain denominations. That's been there for a long time, and we still have not been able to come around that. We have border bottlenecks where a person coming to the country has certain limitations. Some are there for the correct reasons. Some might not be so. So these challenges are there. So with these border city stakeholders, hoteliers, with people like us, where we are capital city driven rather, and then other regional properties, I think stakeholder interaction has to increase. A change in the team is always necessary because a new viewpoint is added on. And regional hotel associations have to be able should contribute further. And that should be the growth that would probably give us a better direction.
And as a final question,
please.
Because as I came to your hotel, I see a lot of changes, a lot of things that are being slightly moved around, your F&B, your restaurants. On a final note, why or what should people expect when they come here? Because things are changing here.
Well, thank you for noticing those changes. And I think that's what I would say first. The property has taken up a different positioning strategy. Again, we are very heavily strategizing on creating value to the guest. We try to provide a very hands-on, warm hospitality to anyone who's coming in, whether you're using our food and beverage options, whether you're using our rooms and so forth. We are flexible. We are very guest focused. I have a mix of my team where I've been able to use the recognition of guests at a very high level. I have an opportunity to be more locally orientated and go through a market segment that people might not necessarily want to take. Changes, I've had a lot of changes in my team. Some that I've worked with before, and some that I have slowly groomed to a certain level. And I'm very happy with the support that my team has shown. We have resulted that with a very strong ROI, and we are moving forward in that direction. We're just a hotel that offers impeccable value for what you are paying for and the service that you get. And that's where I would see this property moving forward.
And I think that's what people appreciate, and that's why they keep coming back.
I guess so.
Thank you so much for giving us the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Pleasure.